Before they did that, 85, just went up to 86 to go to Chapel Hill, it would take over 3 hours. So it didn't matter which way you went.
It took us 3.5.
Right, it's about the same.
Well, actually, about three.
We stopped and ate.
David,
David,
sorry, Mayor, who is leading the pledge?
Ivory.
Good, okay. I just forgot we did the pledge, so I was looking, going, am I doing that too? Okay, no problem.
Yeah, we got there. It's a nice ride. We go to Greenville, I'm going that way. Because Interstate 40 is under construction where you flip off at 85.
Yeah, they're almost going to 4 lanes. I'm going up there.
when I come in,
2 weeks.
Last time I went there, it come to us.
get ready.
Good evening and welcome to our City Council work session this March the 24th of 2025. We're going to have our invocation led by Councilman Huff, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Craig. If you would, please stand with me.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to come and serve the citizens of Mount Holly. Lord, I pray that you'd bless all of our servicemen and women, all our public safety officials who are out there every day putting their lives on the line for us. Lord, I pray that you would open our hearts and minds to how you would lead us in making decisions on behalf of all of our citizens. It's in Jesus Christ's name I pray. Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we're going to set the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
I'd like to remove number 1 and put it at new business.
So number 1 from the consent agenda will be moved to number 2 on new business. Okay.
Number 1 on consent.
Of the consent.
No, I know, I just said, shouldn't that be old business, not new business? It's not a new topic, but I guess we don't have an old business.
Well, we don't really have that on the agenda.
You can add old business.
Okay, so we'll do number 1, old business. Any other changes to the agenda?
Is there a reason why?
I think it wants to be
Because I
discussed.
don't consent to it.
Yeah, I think we just wanted to discuss it.
That's my reason.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Okay, anything else on that? I need a motion to approve the agenda. Motion by Ms. Harris, second by Mr. Reeves, all in favor? Okay, so I've got 5-1. Mr. Craig does not want to approve that, the change. So that motion passes. All right, so the consent agenda, we're down to 4 items now. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Ms. Harris, second by Ms. Shoemaker, all in favor? Okay, it is unanimously approved, the consent agenda. Next on our agenda, we have presentations, consideration and approval of the updated works associated with the Creative Spaces Initiative. Mr. Paul Lowe.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So I'll bring up the 6 works that we're looking to add to our 4 current locations and our 2 proposed locations. And our 2 new locations are going to be at Tuck Park and Arts on the Greenway. And we appreciate both those partnerships with park staff and then Arts on the Greenway to help us have 2 new locations. And if approved tonight, these works will either be changed out or reinstalled by June 30th. PAC recommended approval at their meeting last week. Staff recommends approval, and I can answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Lowe? Mr. Craig?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion to approve, second by Mr. Meadows. All in favor? It is passed unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Lowe. Okay, next, we will receive an update regarding the reappointment process for the Planning Commission. Mr. Beal.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Just given the annual council retreat discussion and the fact that we've had a vacant planning commission, or a vacancy on the planning commission since December 13th, when Ms. Nichols did not want to be reappointed or didn't indicate her desire to be reappointed, that opened up this vacancy. For the past 10 years, we've had a process, and it's just worked well for the planning board. You know, we really heavily advertise the application. It's through social media, through the monthly water bill, and at times we've gone 6 months without any interest whatsoever. Other times we've gotten 15 applications within a short time period. So it's never consistent, and we've been doing this for a long time now. We look at these applications as staff, and there's some things that we struggle with. I'm not saying it's a perfect process, but do we really want to interview 15 candidates? If council tells us to, we certainly will. But what's worked for well with us, we look at all the applicants internally as staff, and we pick out the top several, whether that's 5. If we have 15 applications, I think we took 5 to an interview process last time. We look out for things that if someone has a personal agenda and says they want to serve on the planning commission to stop all development, it's probably not going to be a good candidate. We look at folks that have experience working on boards and committees. But once it gets to the interview process, the planning commission members attend the meeting and they interview the applicants. They ask them questions. Why do you want to serve? I see here you have your law license, you know. Tell us about the time you worked with a land use committee on, you know, various things like that. Just broad-based, but it gets them a chance to know who they're going to work with potentially. Again, staff plays a very little role in the process other than managing it. We really put everything on the planning commission. And at the time, you know, they conduct the interviews. You know, it's an open meeting, so if somebody wanted to sit here and hear the discussion, because they openly discuss the candidates, they're certainly welcome to. We have never had somebody sit in the audience. They always interview and leave. At that point, we take nominations, and there have been times when we've had clear nominations. There have also been times when nobody was nominated. And at that point, we ask people to vote. And, you know, and it's a little hard at that point because we hope we have a successful top choice, but not always the case. So there's been times where we've had votes tallied up. We let the folks know that we're going to take this forward to council because as council, you don't have to go with the planning board recommendation, certainly. We're very transparent on what applications we see. I think we've put resumes and the whole deal in your packet in the past. That item is usually placed on the consent agenda. Certainly could get pulled off if the council would like to discuss that. But that's been our process for the 10 years. And we just wanted, you know, as staff, possibly creating a template for all boards and committees. It may work well. It may not. But that has worked well for this planning commission for the past 10 years. Prior to that, you know, sometimes you'd run into somebody, hey, you want to serve on the planning board? You're on it, you know? And that's how it was done in the past. But I think this opens the door to a variety of citizens that may be willing to serve on these boards and committees. And I just wanted to kind of bring this forward and just discuss our process. We need to formalize it. This past year, we've really worked with our city attorney on formalizing the rules and procedures. We had rules and procedures. A lot of these, you know, 160D was a big thing. The land use updates, requirement of a planning commission, requirement of a board of adjustment. I don't believe any other committees are required, maybe the ABC board since we have an ABC, but this is a unique committee that is required by the statutes. And all our committees are important, of course, but we just hope to fill this vacancy soon in the coming months so we could get back to having a 9-member board.
Any questions for Mr. Beal? Yes, sir. Mr. Meadows?
Have you compared our process to anybody else's?
I found more people who probably do it more the old way, but a lot of towns have asked us how we do it, and they really like the interview process. So some of the towns, I can't give you specific examples right off the bat, but I know some towns have adopted our process by interviewing applicants. We talked to a lot of planners in the region, especially in Gaston County, and several of them have reached out to ask us about the interview process.
Ms. Shoemaker?
Do you have any applicants currently, or are you just kind of in a holding pattern waiting to interview?
Yes, ma'am. We received 6 applications. I believe one gentleman indicated he was dropping out. He was no longer interested for whatever reason. So we do have 5 applicants.
Anyone else? Mr. Craig?
I know I read in the packet about term limits. What is kind of your thoughts on that?
So, back in '05, I believe it was 2005, I've been here 4 years, and I put that story in there, and it's not to say that will ever happen again, but we holistically, as the city said, we're going to appoint new members. And that happened one time. Those 3 members didn't get appointed, and we had no interest, and we had to fill those 3 seats. So that was a little difficult situation. Not saying, of course, it's going to happen again. But we've talked about term limits. I guess with the planning board, we really focus on training. What we've struggled with, and I'll be honest with you as a planning board, putting personal feelings aside. You may not like something, but what's your ordinances say about it? What's your future land use plan say about it? So every year, Dr. David Williams, and in the past it's been Central Illini Council of Governments, comes in and does training with our board. So we invest, it's between $1,000 and $2,000 annually on training our members, because if they're not properly trained, they could really open the city up to some liability. And I think especially when you get into quasi-judicial cases, and especially personal feelings, we always stress that the most in the training. So I think, to answer your question, Mr. Craig, it's really investing in these members, and I think that's always been, there probably needs to be a term limit, maybe 2 terms, and you have to sit off a year, and you could be reappointed, but it's never come full circle because of all the training we've done.
Thank you.
Mr. Meadows?
So you have ranked choice voting in the packet. Is it possible for us to examine that and maybe go more to the Robert's Rules of Order methodology, matching what we have in the ordinance for appointing a council member?
Yeah, I think that's, I think that's perfectly fine. It's just like and what it opens up is like on those rare occasions where we don't get a motion or a nomination, it seems we've struggled in the past, but we've come through with good candidates, if that makes sense. But I think we certainly can address that and say that a prospective member must be nominated, and with a motion and second, with majority vote, and that nomination gets moved forward.
Mr. Meadows?
I think if you look at the Robert's Rules of Order, you don't even have to have a second. It's just a motion, and you kind of go until there's a majority candidate. Ranked choice, I've never been able to get my head around in that, you can have the second person in the list end up being recommended, which is kind of confusing to me. Seems like we should go through the kind of universally kind of political process, which is the Robert's Rules of Order.
And I think it's more transparent too. I think we all agree if it's out in the open, like when you do ballots, and people are writing things down, we examine to make sure everything's listed out. But that's a good point. You could get, a second choice candidate being the top choice if you tally the votes.
Anyone else? All right, Mr. Bill, so I think you're talking about the recommendations, term limits, so you got kind of your marching orders on that, so you'll come back with?
We'll talk about it at our upcoming meeting with the board.
Sure.
Just an open discussion with you. I think we'll have something finalized, and we can put it out, and if we want to revisit this at another council meeting, we can certainly have it approved.
Anything else for Mr. Bill? Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to go to old business, the number one that was removed from the consent agenda, the budget amendment for property acquisition. Mr. Reeves.
I'd like to make a motion to not move the $3.5 million from the unassigned fund balance to the general fund balance for purchase of the Stroups, this property.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Harris. All in favor? Okay, all opposed? All right, so we have Ms. Harris and Mr. Reeves for the motion, and Mr. Meadows, Ms. Shoemaker, Mr. Craig, and Ms. Huff against, so the motion fails.
I mean, we didn't really get a chance to discuss this, but.
Okay?
I mean,
Discussion?
I mean, this is not, we're not looking at canceling the contract, we're looking at not paying the contract we're obligated to. So it's basically like, we would be voting to default on an agreement, which I don't support defaulting on an agreement that we've made. That's why I'm voting against it.
Okay. Any other comment? All right. We're moving forward.
We need it.
I think we need a
Affirmative motion.
And if I may, Mr. Mayor, for the record, I did want to put the total amounts because there have been a slight tweak based on what's on council's packet. This will be for 3 transactions. The first will be to Dean N. Stroop. This will be for $995,179.59. That is for 120 East Central Avenue. The second one will also be to Mr. Stroop for 128, 138, 140 East Central, and 200 Municipal Lane. This will be in the purchase price of $2,160,304.49, and the third will be to SPCS Properties in the amount of $423,953.54. So I would ask for a motion to approve a budget amount to reflect those amounts, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Huff?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. I need a second by Mr. Craig. All in favor? Okay, I have Mr. Huff, Mr. Meadows, Ms. Shoemaker, and Ms. Craig for, all opposed, Ms. Harris and Mr. Reeves. So that motion passes. All right, we're going to go to new business, discussion regarding the downtown sanitation services. Mr. Blanton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, tonight I want to discuss an issue regarding downtown sanitation collection. This is an issue that has been brought to my attention. I know it's been brought to a few council members' attention regarding how we pick up garbage downtown. We have been evaluating this situation for a little while now, and I want to talk about currently how we pick up garbage downtown. Each business has an opportunity to provide for monthly charges of $11.91 per garbage container. We've evaluated, with the help of our finance department, 28 businesses on South Main, East Central, and West Charlotte. 16 of those businesses, they utilize 1 can at $11.91 a month. 5 of those businesses use 2 cans at $23.82 per month. 2 of those businesses use 3 cans at $35.73 per month. 2 of those businesses utilize 4 cans at $47.84 a month, and 3 of those businesses utilize 5 cans at $59.55 per month. Businesses also have the option, if they want to utilize dumpster services, that is on them to contract with the dumpster service. We provide for that to be an option. We have standard specifications if they want to build a dumpster pad and enclosure screening for that. But currently, we do not offer dumpster service through the city. It would be a private agreement between the business and a sanitation company. I've been evaluating some other places and how they provide, some other cities and towns and how they provide these services. This is a map that our planning department, Beth Ann, did a fantastic job compiling for me to show you where some of the dumpsters are downtown. There's one behind the Chicken King. There's one behind 119 North Main. There's one that was recently constructed at Bolton's. There is one behind Troust. There's also one at Basilio's. There's one behind 131 South Main, the former municipal complex, and there's one at Wells Fargo. Potentially, there could be one coming behind the Holland Building, but that has not been determined yet. The city does not maintain any of these dumpster sites. The city does not provide dumpster pickup for any of these sites. These are all on private property that the business owner contracts for services to get that, whether it's through Republic, Waste Pro, Waste Management. But that is where, in the downtown area, dumpsters are currently located. I talked to our friends at the City of Gastonia. They provide dumpster services for their municipal service district. They also have a 20-cent municipal service tax that goes towards subsidizing some of those costs. It's generally around $50 that they charge each business for shared dumpster services, and then some of those costs are offset through their municipal service tax of 20 cents. So I did speak with the city manager, looked at their policies, and to see how they provide those services. They do have the capability to provide some of those services in-house, whereas other places, such as Belmont, they work through a cooperative waste program. They contract with a third party to provide those businesses. Belmont was kind enough to share one of those cooperative waste program agreements. Those range from $300 to $500 annually that they're charging for the use of those dumpster services. Bessemer City provides twice-a-week pickup for rollout cans, and they allow private dumpsters similar to what we offer. Stanley also does weekly pickup, and they allow for private dumpsters as well. If the City Council was interested in looking at potentially moving forward with providing dumpster services, there would be several things to take into consideration. First, we would need to determine what exactly is the downtown district. Would this be offered to all businesses? Would it be just a certain period or certain parcels, certain businesses based on the map that I showed earlier as a potential district? Evaluating the cost for the pickup, we currently do have a contract with Waste Pro for dumpster pickup here at the municipal complex. That's roughly $800 a month, but there are other options, as I said, Waste Management, Waste Pro, Republic, other options that we could consider. We would need to get access easements with these property owners for the locations that are downtown. We currently do not have property where we own and maintain a dumpster pad, so we would need to work to potentially be able to get an easement in order to be able to provide those services and then negotiate some type of service with a third-party provider. So brought this for information for council tonight. I'm glad to answer any questions that you all may have or do additional research based on the direction of the council.
Any questions for Mr. Blanton? Mr. Huff?
Well, just a comment. I think, thankfully, we have growth in downtown. We have another restaurant that is coming on board soon, which is great. And I think it creates more opportunities for cooperation with our businesses downtown. We seem to be having a lot of rollout containers. And I imagine with the advent of recycling no longer a part of that, those containers are going to grow. There's no doubt. So I think I am in favor of looking for a way that we can cooperate with our downtown district, with our businesses to share existing dumpsters, if there's a way we can do that where it makes sense. And then if we need additional dumpster locations, then we can look at it. But I think we have several. I just think aesthetically it would be good to have, but it also supports businesses that are expanding their operations and, people like Bolton's who are here. If they're paying for that dumpster by themselves, I would hesitate to say that they're probably not the only one using that dumpster. So I just think it's something that we should consider. Look at cost, look at any issues that might come along with it. But I think it's something just to consider and get more information on.
Mr. Meadows?
Mr. Benton, didn't we have, as part of this year's budget, a kind of a shared location concept in the budget with some funding available? As we talked about it during the budget process, I think that made it in the budget itself.
The agreement with the Holland Building in order to provide.
Well, there was a previous agreement that had been through, but there was also discussion, and I thought it was part of the budget, to where we were encouraging to eliminate the cans downtown, to co-locate the dumpster services, and that we put aside some money, I thought, to help establish those initial dumpster pads and screening so we could eliminate the can service. A lot of the businesses are now starting to, back of house is now becoming front of house because of growth and all the parking changes. So we were kind of hearing that was not a real good look. I think we have proven through different complaints you've shared along the way that rodents are an issue, and the larger cans are easier to control than it is for the smaller cans. So I think if we go back and look at the budget, that we've already outlined a program. Now, whether folks can get along and co-locate and agree to putting agreements together is maybe a different question. So, but I think we already have a framework in place that we already adopted in the budget.
I can certainly check, and staff and I will evaluate that. The only thing that comes to mind right off is the funding that was spoke about allocating for building a dumpster pad behind the Holland. I don't know that we have anything else specifically budgeted for in fiscal year '25. I know that we had the conversations, but I do not believe that there was actual funding that was allocated.
Mr. Meadows?
I was going to say, there was a specific request for it to be included in the budget. I guess shame on me for not following up to make sure that it was. There was a lot of discussion around it being treated like our facade grant program when we were having trouble getting people to invest downtown. We said, well, why don't we put something together that would help, with this? And we actually talked about co-locations. We talked about them figuring out how to pay for it and agree like we've got listed here. So, I mean, if you went back and checked some of the minutes, we discussed these very same things once before for the very same reasons, as I recall.
Sure, we certainly will, Mr. Mayor.
How many people have approached you about this issue?
About the issue of providing dumpster services?
Yes.
I've heard several complaints from the downtown area. There's been one specific business that has repeatedly requested that the council review this issue. We've also informally engaged other business owners downtown regarding the matter, and I've made a habit now of when I'm out and about checking to see the number of dumpsters. And if you ride through Mount Holly, there are quite a few dumpsters that are located behind churches, businesses, both inside the downtown area and then outside. But one specific business owner has asked that the city continue to evaluate these options, or that continues to bring it to my attention.
Any other questions for Mr. Blanton? Ms. Harris?
So we're just talking about doing the dumpster pad. We're not going to take on the cost, right?
Currently, we do not, Ms. Harris, no. The costs that we're currently looking at, the current conversations that we're having is between Lanier and the Holland Building regarding a dumpster pad behind that. But as of today, those conversations do not appear to be trending in a positive manner, where it does not appear currently that we're going to be able to work out a deal with the Holland Building and Lanier. But no, we currently do not provide dumpster services, or do we subsidize any dumpster services for the downtown area.
Mr. Meadows?
I'd like to ask staff to explore an ordinance that requires specifically restaurants to have dumpster service. I don't think that's an unreasonable ask. Seems to be pretty common elsewhere, and it's becoming more and more difficult with the more and more cars and the more and more businesses to get in and out to continue to provide can service, especially in the downtown area. One of the things we discussed in the budget process as well is our downtown's changing. We need to change with it, and the aesthetic is much better to have a screened dumpster that's enclosed than it is to have hundreds of cans running around downtown. I didn't do that math a minute ago, but it seems like there's a lot of cans floating around.
Mr. Huff?
Yeah, my thought process would be the businesses would pay, even if the city were able to help contract either by volume or et cetera. My idea would be to say, okay, here's the cost, here's the rollout, businesses, is this something you want to look at, whether it's through BUMA or what have you. But I also think that, with Smoke and Barrel, when you look at what our people do when they're picking up garbage and they're having to go through downtown, it's not efficient. And it really would be more efficient, especially for our employees that have to go down back alleys and, you're having to get in and around just trying to get to these dumpsters. I mean, not dumpsters, but to roll out garbage. I just think that if it's more efficient and cost-effective for our businesses, then we, take a look at it.
Mr. Blanton, I think at one point we looked at doing something behind Troust, like a dumpster pad. Didn't we talk about that at one point?
There is a dumpster pad behind Troust that Troust maintains and contract services for. I'd spoken to Gwen last week about that, and I'll certainly follow up to see if there's ways that we can work with her to potentially forge a partnership to help some of those businesses. I know that's conversations that we've had in the past, but that dumpster pad is maintained by Troust, and they contract for services specifically to their business.
But is it an enclosed dumpster pad? Isn't it just an open dumpster pad? Okay, so that's something we need to look at too, because we have rules with dumpster pads, right?
We do, for new dumpster pads.
Anything else for Mr. Blanton? All right.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is the city manager report. Mr. Blanton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. I have several things that I want to share with you all tonight, as well as the general public. First, I want to give an update on the upset bid process. The first 10-day period ended at 5 o'clock today. We received one upset bid in the amount of $815,000 from the Mount Holly Historical Society. We were working with the Gazette shortly before the meeting to re-advertise, so the 10-day process will continue. Will restart once we advertise in the Gazette. The next deadline will be April 7th at 5 p.m. So we will continue the upset bid process, start it over again now that we have had an upset of the original offer, which was $762,500. The current offer is $815,000 that we will be advertising and moving forward with exploring. A lot of exciting things happening around the city. If you saw our video last week or have been following social media, our Public Works Department has done an incredible job coordinating with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to do sand removal, debris removal from Hurricane Helene through Taylor's Creek, Dutchman's Creek, and the Catawba River. This project is going to take roughly 3 months to complete, but we are very appreciative of the assistance from the federal government. And I just want to give a huge thanks to our Public Works Department for continuing those conversations and being so diligent to ensure that we are able to get this project underway, because as everyone up here can recall, this has been conversations that have been going on for quite some time over the years in the hope to restore those waterways. So there will be a lot of activity on our waterways over the next few months, and hopefully we'll be able to have that open back up, restored by midsummer. Also, if you came down and saw the digital message board on your way here today, the power went on today. So the electricity has been ran to our new digital message board in front of Marco's Pizza. This has been another long-time project that's come into fruition, and we are very appreciative of council support and our friends at the Tourism Development Authority for joining with us on that project. Also, if you've been downtown, the North Main lights were installed, and it is quite a picturesque sight to see. If you go down through night, coming up North Main, it is a beautiful sight and a wonderful project that we finally got up and going since the city requested DOT to relinquish that portion of North Main and taking it over this year. So certainly be sure to check that out. Before we meet again, we will be having our Chalk the Walk event on Saturday, April 12th, 10 a.m. out here at Linear Park, where we're hoping to have a lot of activity, a lot of decorating, a lot of contests on the Chalk the Walk event, a first event for us. So certainly join us if you're able on Saturday, April 12th at 10 a.m. And that is all that I have tonight, Mr. Mayor, but glad to answer any questions or speak to any concerns of council.
Any questions for Mr. Blanton? Okay. No one? All right. So I need one more motion. Mr. Huff, make a motion to adjourn. All right, second by Mr. Meadows. All in favor? All right, we are adjourned.
Well.